Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Thor film, Thor Ragnarok. This is the third installment in the Thor franchise, and we're pretty far into Phase 3 now into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as far as I know, I don't think there is going to be a Thor 4, but who knows. Um, Most of these Marvel characters seem to get three films and then they just kind of are a part of other stories later on. So who knows where the Thor character will go after this story. But for Thor 3, which is called Thor Ragnarok, this film is about Thor finding out that he has a long lost sister named Hela. And she's trying to take over Asgard. But while that's going on, while Thor and Loki are trying to get back to Asgard because they're on Earth, while they find out about Hela and kind of what she plans to do and everything. They both get knocked away into this distant planet. This is a big junkyard, and they try to find like things that are useful or people or creatures that are living in it that can compete in this gladiator-like arena where they have this grand champion that lives there, and they like to make these competitors that they find that are pretty promising. They find this junkyard. Compete against this champion that they have. So they manage to find Thor, and so they think he's a really strong candidate to fight their champion. And so Thor gets there, and it turns out that the Incredible Hulk is their big champion that they have stored away. That each kind of candidate that they find out in the junkyard um, goes up against. And so, Thor and Hulk eventually reunite, even though they have to go to this big gladiator fight together. And then the two of them, along with Loki and some other people that they meet along the way, have to go back to Asgard so they can stop Hela's plan and so that she doesn't take over Asgard. And so that somehow, some way, the people who are still at Asgard will be able to live their lives the way that they were supposed to. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok a lot. I definitely thought it was a kind of a neat thing that Marvel went with Taika Waititi to direct this film. He's done some really small comedy films like Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows. So he's done a lot of like really small projects that people really aren't familiar with. Only the really hardcore comedy film fans are really going to know what he's worked on. He did co-write Moana, which I did manage to see. And I think a lot of people who saw probably this film might have seen Moana as well. But um, for things that I really liked about Thor Ragnarok, I thought it was a really funny movie. Just really funny, really hilarious. The jokes land. And Taika Waititi, one thing he managed to do is for such a dark story that about people taking over stuff and destroying stuff and seeing all these people get killed. One thing that he was able to do was kind of make light of the situation. Whenever like a character's in a really goofy situation, he would find a way to make it funny and enjoyable. But overall, it was just strangely enough a very funny film as well. So thumbs up to Taika Waititi for kind of keeping things in good spirit and making things funny as the film progresses. A lot of previous MCU elements start to pay off in this movie. So if you paid close attention to Avengers Age of Ultron, if you paid close attention to the events of Thor and Thor the Dark World, which was the second Thor film, a lot of those things start to pay off here. A lot of those things that you might have caught at the end of Thor 2 or the end of Thor 1 or things about how the Hulk ended up the way he did in this film and all that kind of stuff, or how the Doctor Strange and Thor counter played out further for those who saw the end credit scene of Doctor Strange. All those things play out, all those things pay off within Thor Ragnarok. They all are continued somehow, and they further the universe even more. So once again, Taika Waititi is respecting the films that came before his, and he's furthering them and answers further questions on those earlier incidents that now have returned to the Marvel Cinematic Universe within this movie. As far as new characters are concerned, the villainous character of Hela, played by Cate Blanchett, was very good here. Definitely one of the better Marvel films I thought that better Marvel villains we've had in a long time. Just very threatening, very strong. I liked how she definitely has a connection with Thor. Definitely a very much a physical challenge for Thor. Thor won't be able to use his hammer against her because if you've seen the trailers or seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. The character of Valkyrie was really fun. It has a bigger Asgard connection that you would think, so I really can't go into too much detail there. But just tons of fun with these characters. You enjoyed hating on Hela just because she was a great villain in this movie, and of course, Valkyrie has connections of all different kinds of things. So really fun new characters, and Valkyrie's played by Tessa Thompson in this movie, by the way, from Creed. She played the girlfriend in that movie. So just really fun new characters that we're introduced to in this movie. I also thought all the Thor, Loki, and Odin elements really work here. Um, so if this is indeed the last standalone Thor film, definitely a neat closure to Thor and to Loki and to Odin, even though I think it has been confirmed already that both Thor and Loki are going to be in one of these last Avengers films, like 3 or 4, I think, or potentially even both from what I've heard. But like I said, if this is the last Thor film, if this is the kind of the last standalone story he ever gets, I thought all 3 of those characters were given things, were given closure, were given further character development within those characters. They were all continued and concluded very well, if I guess that's the way you want to view it as. So all the elements involving the 3 of those characters worked really well in this movie. I also like the use of the Hulk in this movie. So for those who did pay close attention to Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, kind of his fate that was suggested in that movie is definitely continued here. They definitely go about as to where exactly Hulk ended up after the events of that movie. Whenever Hulk turns back into Bruce Banner, they have a lot of fun with that. So Mark Ruffalo, you can tell, had a ton of fun with that as far as his character was concerned. So just really fun use of the Hulk in this movie. Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster character was a lot of fun as well. Very funny, definitely Jeff Goldblum-ish. Just a really fun character. You can just tell that he's looking for basically just a fun way to continue this arena event that he has going on his planet. He just wants to find strong contenders to go up against the Hulk in this arena. So really fun character from him overall. This is also a very colorful film. Taika Waititi, for all the dark material that he covers in this movie, it's a very colorful film. It's a very vibrant, bright, colorful movie that just has a color palette of all proportions. The yellows are bright yellow, the reds are bright red, the blues are light blues. They're very, very light blues. I just really enjoyed the color palette that Taika Waititi went with for this movie. It was just a lot of fun. For my negatives of Thor Ragnarok, though, Karl Urban, who I really like as an actor, I really love the film Dread, for example. And I like his role in the new Star Trek films and everything. I thought his character in this film was pretty worthless. He plays a character named Scourge, who I guess is also called the Executioner in the comics. And I think he's called both here in this movie at one point or another. But just a really worthless character. Really didn't add anything to the story. I didn't like how they really couldn't make up their mind as to if he's a good guy or a bad guy, because there's definitely just as many scenes that suggest both. If you're going to put Karl Urban in the movie, give him something interesting to do. The character they gave him here just was pretty worthless overall. I didn't like what they did with him. I also thought that they powered down the Hulk too much. They powered him down to the point where like Thor and Hela and all these other characters can basically trample over him, and the Marvel basically completely throws away what the Hulk is in this movie. With the Hulk, you really can't kill him; he just becomes stronger. I feel like they throw that out the window in this movie. Like, yes, he is this big, strong beast, but like you can practically just push him over practically. So I didn't like how they powered him down here, kind of like what they did with Tony Stark in Iron Man 3, where his suits just kind of feel worthless in that movie. They really powered him down here, and I really thought that was disrespectful to the whole character, so I wish that could have been different. I also thought the first 25 minutes of the film roughly were very jumbled. Like, oh, we're going to go here. Now we have to go here. Now we got to go here. Now we have to set up this. Now we have to go here. Now we have to go this. It just felt very, like, all over the place. Like they had to do all these things at once. Thankfully, they dropped that tone right away, because that would have been a very fast-paced, uncomfortable film to watch if they did that. But thankfully, they trimmed it down. They found a better pacing after that footage was done. But like I said, roughly the first, maybe even not first 25, but the first random few series of events felt very jumbled to me. Like they're just trying to rush right through it so they can get right into the plot. It just felt very jumbled as a result. Another problem I have with the movie, which I actually did look up online, Jamie Alexander, who plays Sif, unfortunately is not in this movie, and that's really too bad because they basically a lot of the characters that you remember from the previous two Thor films get something significant to do in this movie, pretty much, and Sif isn't there. So if basically they're going to have to explain a later Marvel film what exactly happened to Sif. She was not there. Um, so I don't know. I thought it was a little lazy. I thought it was a little inconsiderate on Marvel's behalf to because I know she's doing that show Blind Spot right now. So I think that was just a scheduling conflict as to why they couldn't get her into this movie. Why they couldn't just do it at the beginning of the production or at the end of the production, I don't really know. But it really would have been nice to see Sif be in this story because she is pretty significant in the comics as well. Really would have liked to see this character come back, and unfortunately, Marvel does not use her in this movie. There's also a lot of inconsistent rules by the end of the film. Without me getting into spoilers, there's something that the character of Hela was able to stop with Thor earlier on in the film, and there was something earlier on in the film that Thor was able to accomplish that Hela was not able to accomplish. And by the end of the film, by the time the credits are rolling, you realize it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's about as much as I could say without spoiling it. But there is something that they do to kind of conclude her character that to me didn't make a lot of sense. But overall, I'm going to give Thor Ragnarok a 9 out of 10. Really fun movie. It's funny. It finds enlightenment when it can amongst the dark plot and the dark material that it has. The MCU elements really start to pay off here and are furthered in the right way. Hela and Valkyrie are fun new characters for the franchise. Thor, Loki, and Odin are all handled very well in this movie. The use of the Hulk was fun. Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster character was a lot of fun. Taika Waititi's colorful color palette was a lot of fun to witness in this movie. But some of the downsides are Karl Urban's character was pretty worthless here. We had a powered down Incredible Hulk. The first 25 minutes feel very jumbled. And the inconsistent rules towards the end of the film were really starting to get to me after a while, and they never used Sif in the movie, which is really unfortunately. So 9 out of 10 for me. Really enjoyed this movie. Highly recommend the film if you enjoyed the previous Thor films or just enjoy the Marvel films in general. 9 out of 10. I do highly recommend Thor Ragnarok.